All right. We are ready to get going. It looks like we've got a great turnout. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. My name is Larry Compton, digital media expert for Ocean Systems. We're here today for a technology review on what we've been up to, what we're working on, and what is soon to come. I am joined today by Charles Garino, our Vice President of Ocean Systems. Before we get too far into this, I want to make sure everyone's familiar with the questions and answers panel. You can submit questions throughout the webinar via that panel, and we'll be trying to monitor them throughout and respond as time permits. And certainly at the end, we'll be taking questions as well. So if you have questions, please submit them through the questions panel on your GoToWebinar control panel. We look forward to getting those answered for you. We have a lot of information to share today in a very short period of time, a lot of exciting things to talk about. But first and foremost, for those new to Ocean Systems, we have been around for over 30 years. Last year was our 30th anniversary, and establishing, graphics specialty in the Windows platform. And we've been on GSA contract now for over 20 years. So lots and lots of different solutions. We have grown from a handful of solutions in hardware and software to having solutions that will address everything from the time you come into possession of digital evidence through the time that you archive or purge that evidence according to policy. So let's talk about one of our core specialties, and that is our workstations. Let's jump right into what's new, what's going on. Our workstations continue to be leveraged by thousands literally well over 1,000 agencies still leverage our workstations and rely on our workstations for digital evidence processing, and not just with our software, but with other solutions, of course. It is our core competency that really is what brought Avid to us back in the 90s to port Avid Media Composer over to a PC platform. They didn't approach HP or IBM or anyone. They came to us for that specialty, and we began expanding on those capabilities in partnership with them. So let's talk a little bit about the specs. Certainly everything is customizable, but just in our default tower and rack mount configs, we now have dual processor, of course, total of 16 core Xeon CPUs, and we can, we're on the Silver platform. We can go as high and as fast as you'd like, and it's absolutely capable from Intel these days. So definitely a lot more processing power in the 8th gen and soon to be released 9th gen CPUs. We've updated our motherboards recently, and the new motherboards support 2 M2 slots. So whether you want to leverage that M2 storage for your operating systems or storage, they are incredibly fast. I have a laptop that is, my primary drive is M2 storage. I'm reading over 1,700 megabits per second. 100 megabytes per second. I'm reading off from that drive locally. That is blazing fast speeds. And of course, we have all of them qualified for UHD, 4K, 1080p capabilities with the latest and greatest NVIDIA PCIe cards, such as P2000s, 5 gigabyte GDR5 on those cards. So, and that GPU processing power, absolutely tremendous. As far as RAM goes, our default config ships with 64 gig of DDR4. We've gone up on the SD-RAM to, I believe, 266 gigahertz, if I'm not mistaken. Our default boot drive is an SSD, SATA connected, 500 gigabytes, and we can configure internal RAID storage up to 16 terabytes of connected storage. We can also configure several terabytes internal, of course, through Intel RAID management, so on and so forth. PCI SSDs are optional, so just about any technology that you want to leverage in a PC is available. We're still shipping USB 3 by default, but can replace that with 3.1. There's a slight overhead to that. All of our systems ship with MDisk Blu-ray capable super drives, so if you're leveraging the MDisk platform for archiving, by default you have that capability. We also by default ship with dual gig E ports, so if you're bonding connections to make those very high speed connections to your very high speed storage for processing digital evidence and media. We've got you covered there as well. And of course, write blockers. You can't touch digital evidence today without having a plethora of write blockers in your toolkit, and we can provide them built right into the system from the leading write blocker manufacturers such as Tableau. Charles, did you want to expand a little bit on workstation updates and upgrades? I know you've been intimately involved in that process. Anything you want to add that I missed?
I think you hit all the high points. Certainly, if you have software that's leveraging GPU processing, again, the default NVIDIA card we're leveraging is the P2000. They make 4,000. They make 6,000. You can certainly invest plenty in GPU processing in that regards. Just to reiterate, the dual onboard SSD M2 drives are pretty impressive. The system boot up speeds are 7 to 10 seconds. The data read write speeds, at least the tech spec on them, is 3,500 and 2,500 megabytes per second. So that's the tech spec on it. So that is 5 times faster than your standard SSDs. So they're getting very impressive. Aside from that, I think you did an excellent job there, Larry.
Awesome. Hey, by the way, everybody, I forgot to mention that Charles is my immediate supervisor. So if they're like, you want to tell him how awesome I am as frequently as you can, and certainly the vice versa. Thanks, Charles. I appreciate that. So also on the hardware side, when we start talking about fast storage, Safe AV has been our core storage product for many years, and we continue to expand on its capability. It's SAS connected, so we're leveraging SAS3, 12 gigabits per second there. That means 4 channels, and we are at blazing fast speeds, 4,800 megabytes per second. Direct connect, expandable storage. And what do I mean by expandable? Well, we can expand up to 16 chassis, each chassis with 16 bays, so we can go into the petabytes when we talk about expandability and reliability. Of course, all of it built from the ground up for reliability with redundant power supplies, hot swap, automatic hot swap drives, hot spare drive, completely customizable as far as RAID 5 or 6 configurations, rack mountable, etc. Very, very reliable, very fast, high-speed storage for processing digital media evidence. In addition to the workstations such as the tower and the rack mounts, of course, we still offer mobile workstations, including the ZBook series of laptops that are workstation grade and can be configured with even the Xeon processors from Intel, so you can get the latest, greatest workstation grade processing capabilities right in the new ZBook laptops. And we are currently shipping the Gen 4 ZBooks, but just here recently, the G5s are coming out, and some, again, really impressive improvements being made to this platform. Up to 64 gigs of DDR4. I believe that on the screen is incorrect there. I believe that's also a 266, not 2133. But IPS, you can go up to UHD screens. I have one on mine, which is just amazing when in a multiple monitor setup. And essentially, this is my primary workstation. I come in, I plug it into a USB 3 dock, and boom, all my other monitors light up, my network connections, my external drives, my so on and so forth, all happens instantaneously. It's a really efficient hardware configuration for a primary workstation. And certainly lends to the field processing as well, which is why we've incorporated it as the core component of our Omnivore field kit, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So mobile workstation still in our ballywhack and our specialty as well. So on the hardware side, I think we've hit the high points on what's new and what's out today. So let's talk a little bit about software. Anybody that's been keeping an eye on us knows that QuickDME has been in our wheelhouse now for a little over 4 years as a digital evidence manager. And we've been spending a tremendous amount of time developing this product to improve efficiencies for our end users. And it's entirely driven by our end users. So a lot of our development, of course, customer driven, your problems that we want to solve. QuickDME is extremely flexible, and I just want to hit on some of the highlights of the most recent release and some of the things to come. Of course, it manages all digital evidence and can manage those proprietary digital CCTV players as well. So you have a built-in player manager capability for leveraging those players and being able to provide them to other users who might not have installation rights, so on and so forth. Completely customizable. I'm going to run through a quick ingest real quick to show you some of the custom fields. We can run it on a single workstation for a single individual, or it can be deployed across your entire network to provide asset management solution end to end. Very cost effective as well. We don't often have a lot of time to pat ourselves on the back about those sorts of things, but the fact of the matter is we have been busy making the product continually better and improving efficiency. So what's going on in 3.2? Well, the new archive and restore case feature. So originally in a very early release of QuickDME, we had the ability to go in and archive an entire case out. We took that out until we could implement it in a more efficient and proper way where you had the ability to both archive and restore. So we've made that really simple for administrators now. You can have a separate archive location from your primary evidence, digital evidence location, certainly making things faster every time we touch this application, faster thumbnail generation, the scanning of assets, metadata extraction, automated disk burning, and things of that nature. The new linkable locations feature is really one of the core capabilities that allow you to leverage this in an environment where your data is in silos in different locations. So in-car storage, body-worn storage, they're all managed in these different silos. However, we can use our linkable locations feature to connect to that data and allow you to manage it through QuickDME, which is really, really cool to bring all of your data under one roof. We've continued to improve our search capabilities and added a feature for a customer who wanted Boolean search capabilities to find assets even faster. File associations are now able to be created per specific download record. So rather than creating a file association to play this digital CCTV file or extension across everything in your system, you can make those file associations specific to that particular download record, which is really cool when you consider the fact that so many manufacturers out there are leveraging the same file extension, but different actual file formats within that file. So different software players, etc. Improved derivative process. So we like to think of QuickDME not just as an asset manager, but as a workflow engine, because you can bring assets or take assets out to third-party products through our send-to associations, do your clarification work or analysis work, and then bring your derivatives quickly and easily right back into the case. And those derivatives are identified, are visually identifiable as derivative evidence under that particular download. So lots of interface improvements, which I'm going to show you a couple here in just a moment. Things like tree and list views, new storage meters, and things of that nature. Some of the other key features from QuickDME that you may have missed if you haven't seen it in a while is we've continued to improve our video player and playing back more formats, including even some proprietary formats right within our own QuickView player. We've also improved the send-to association, so whether you're sending to third-party apps like Photoshop and ClearID or what have you to do your derivative work, you can immediately open those assets and those applications. We added cloud dissemination, so if your agency has a Dropbox or a government AWS account, we can leverage cloud disseminations and provide that fully electronically. A few other key features are the email notifications, the derivative workflow, player manager, and basic image redaction capability, which we'll be expanding on as we continue developing QuickDME. So with that said, I want to take a quick look at the QuickDME application and show you a real quick ingest process just in regards to bringing evidence into the solution. What we're looking at here on my screen right now is Access DME. QuickDME is a suite of tools. The two end user applications are Access DME, this application we're looking at, which is used to view, manage, disseminate all of your digital evidence. And then we have an application called Quick Downloader that runs in your system taskbar and is always running. Looking for new drives to be connected to the system. So one of the features I want to show off is we recently had several discussions from colleagues approaching me about burning disks. So that particular process seems to be the time-consuming process of we were really not even just doing any processing. We just have so much evidence that needs to be burned to disk based on our agency policy and then put into physical evidence. If you've got a backlog at that part of your workflow, that soon in your workflow, we've got a solution that I think you'll like. And so Quick Downloader running here in my taskbar, I'm just going to right click and browse to some new evidence. Of course, anytime I ingest a disk or a USB drive or attach another storage device to the system, Quick Downloader is automatically going to come up and say, hey, do you want to ingest new evidence from this device? So in this case, I'm just going to grab I'll grab a case here and start the ingest process. So Quick Downloader is going to scan your system, verify storage and your network connectivity, and then you have the choice of, do I want to bring in this evidence to a single case or multiple cases? We're just going to do a single case ingest. It's going to go through and bring up all of the assets on that particular storage device. And you can view those assets in tree, list, or thumbnail view now. Then we have our form for ingesting the evidence, which this is where the customization really becomes powerful, so that you can add any customize any field that you may want, as I'll get ready to show you here. In this case, I'm just going to call this example case. I can force a particular case number format, so on and so forth, but I've left mine open. I'll add an address. I'll do a type of crime. All of these are customizable. You can add, change, update to various types of crime. I'm going to choose a person's type of crime in this case because I have this system set up to, for all persons crimes, burn a disk automatically. So you can also say, well, we want you to set up incident classification, and you can add incidents under that crime type and customize those as well. So extremely customizable. So I just chose type of crime, and I have a custom field here that I added, just a simple yes or no answer. Does this require processing? Yes. Submitting agency. So this is another custom field that I added for a customer implementation where they're receiving cases from different local agencies. So they can add a submitting agency, my PD or NPD, a requested deadline for the processing, so 10, 15, 2018, who's assigned to this particular case, etc. All of this is custom fields, and you can add as many as you'd like. Custom fields, we have up to 20 now available on your case, as well as on the download record. So once I've filled out my case information, then it comes to my download fields. And by download, I mean this particular ingest is referred to as a download. We're downloading it into our system. Automatically pre-populated the evidence location address with the case address. We can update it if need be. Wants to know who collected it, when they collected it. You can require the time as well if you'd like, and then who's uploading it. So all of this, of course, is logged and available to you in your reporting and logs for audit logs. And this is another custom field that I added called, does this case or download include video? Yes, so I can, based on this custom field, search all of our cases for any case that includes video on it, for instance. You can see in the download window that it tells you the types of files, and you can select by type by choosing those types, the size of your entire download, etc. So that's a real quick overview of the interface and customization capabilities on the downloader. Once I click download, it's going to go ahead and copy hash every single digital asset in that particular source. And so you can see right now it's copying all of the evidence, and then it'll go back and hash the source and hash the server copy of your evidence. Obviously, all of this is stored and audit so that you have reporting on all of this capability. And once everything has gone through and been verified, it'll immediately come up and ask to print a summary property sheet. This is an option that another customer requested. I'm going to close this. The summary report simply shows that how many assets, who ingested it, my agency information, and that sort of thing. And then because I have a policy set up that says automatically burn this type of crime to disk anytime new evidence is ingested, it's asking me to insert a disk. And it'll tell me what type of inserted disk I have and the size and so on and so forth. And of course, we can span disks as well. So when we have very, very large items and assets, our updated burning software can now auto-span disks for you automatically. And once we've completed the burning process, it'll come up and say that is complete and launch our tagging interface. This is another option. You don't have to force this on ingest, but it's an option to go through and add keywords to your assets. So I can, for instance, type in player interface or what have you, and these become searchable metadata on all of your assets. You'll also notice the EXIF metadata scraped from this particular file on ingest, and we can do that for every asset in our workflow. And once done, it'll automatically ask you to save and close, but I'm just going to go ahead and manually do that to expedite this process, and then it'll tell you that the download is completed successfully. And if we do go back to our Access DME application, we can do a search for all cases in the system, and we'll see our example case down below here with all of those assets. Now, if I want to see it in tree view, I can see exactly the folder structure that was that this media was currently under when it was ingested. So we maintain, it's an option set by default, but we maintain that original folder structure. This example happens to be a proprietary digital CCTV media, which includes a proprietary digital CCTV player and a specific folder structure for that player to leverage during playback. So all of that gets maintained and, of course, audited and is provided when we disclose this. Because I have our cloud dissemination option enabled, I can simply disseminate this or disclose this by going to File, Upload, Upload Content, and I have this one set up to an agency Dropbox account. I tell who I'm going to release this to. If I want to password protect this, I can add a password. And then how long do I want the assets to be available to them via link? We'll just go ahead and say 3 days. And if I want to include a hash report of all of the original assets with this dissemination. Once I do that, it's going to walk through the process. It'll zip all of those assets. If I password protect it, password protects that zip file and then uploads it to your agency account. Once it's completed uploading to the agency account, you'll be provided with a link to email someone in order to access this particular evidence. And of course, if you did password protect, they'll also need that password. So this entire process is audited. And we have audits that such and such who has the permissions did this upload or cloud dissemination, and that will be in this particular record's audit history. And of course, your cloud platform of choice, whether that's government Amazon Web Services, agency Dropbox account, or coming soon, we'll also be implementing Microsoft Azure. So we can leverage their platform for cloud disseminations as well. I'm going to let this cook and we'll continue on because we have so much to share with you today. Certainly any questions along the way, please feel free to throw those in. So QuickDME, we are actually testing another alpha release right now and expected to have a new release out probably within the next 2 weeks. Omnivore and Omnivore Field Kit. So if you haven't been keeping an eye out on what's latest and greatest, you may recall the Omnivore Field Kit. We've been working on some pretty significant updates and mentioning them for quite some time now. They are very nearing completion and some very exciting capabilities. But what is the Omnivore Field Kit? It is essentially our recovery solution. What are some of its strengths? Uncompressed video capture from VGA, DVI, HDMI, and composite and S-video sources. We provide a simplified solution that gives you a way to quickly get to the actionable information from anything that has a video output in any one of those formats. That's great. We teach and train. Native files are, of course, best evidence. We are the first that are going to tell you that. This method doesn't get what? It doesn't capture metadata from those original native files. However, within 5 minutes, I can arrive on scene and get actionable information out on the street in a very high quality format. No more screen snaps from your phone to try and share information on the investigation quickly. Not only that, of course, it overcomes those digital CCD system obstacles when you do run into hurdles with old systems that haven't been maintained, can't export, aren't exporting properly, so on and so forth. We're getting the video uncompressed right from the source, exactly how the source is displaying it on your screen, because essentially we become the screen for that system. We auto recognize the output signal via the video output ports that you're connected to, and if it's coming in at 1024 by 768 via VGA, we automatically recognize that resolution and sync to that resolution. So think a little bit about what is some of the most time-consuming parts of recovering digital CCTV evidence. And anyone that's been doing it for any length of time is going to know, if they know best practices, it's the documentation. We need so much documentation according to best practices, and this solution gives you a way to get that documentation within just a few minutes of running your mouse through all of the setting screens, and everything you do is being recorded for documentation purposes. In fact, I used to do this many moons ago with an SVHS video deck to show my age a little bit. So when the digital CCTV system started coming on the market, I would take an SVHS deck with me to the scene and record, by splitting the video output, everything I do during that particular recovery. Well, Omnivore Field Kit has just made that a lot faster, and oh, by the way, it's uncompressed capture, so you have that capability. Everything you see here is what is included by default, including the HP ZBook workstation. We also have an option, rather than the roller bag, of a travel backpack option that fits everything into it nice and conveniently, so if you prefer that. Of course, it comes with the Omnivore drive. If you already have one, that can be deducted, so on and so forth. What we've been working on is essentially rebuilding Omnivore from the ground up. We have an all-new capture engine coming for the Field Kit, as well as Omnivore. Omnivore in and of itself is being rebuilt from the ground up, and that is what has been keeping us busy, and our primary developer, Tone, busy at night, as we are trying to deal with some of the challenges that we encounter from things like driver limitations. As Windows and major audio and graphics card manufacturers have gone to trying to protect audio and video sources, DCMA and rights management, so that we can't record screens, we can't turn off hardware acceleration, and new audio drivers. Now we, in many cases, can't do a what you hear option, or essentially loop it back through to the operating system. So we started from the beginning and said, we've got to fix that. We've got to come up with a way to get around this, regardless of the reliance on those drivers, and we have done so. So we're really excited about that and hoping to have that out before the end of the year with some major changes. The current release, however, if you haven't seen, we did an update a month or two ago with a new set to TFP link, providing better support for high bit depth screens and capturing from high bit depth screens. And then the updates to our verification report, which is created for every Omnivore capture you do, whether it's with the field kit or not. The verification report now includes much more detailed information about the host computer that you're doing the captured from. So if you haven't seen the Omnivore release updates, certainly if you're in support, make sure you get the latest, greatest, and stay on top of that. With that said, ClearID version 3.3.3 is out. So version 3.3.3 was released in December of 2017, and that was to accommodate the installer for CC 2018, Adobe Photoshop CC 2018. So ClearID version 3 is entirely 64-bit and will run on Photoshop CS4 through the latest release. Some of the other major things that have changed in the ClearID interface since the version 3 release are the ability to apply ClearID filters to smart objects in video. So we can leverage our filters as well as other Photoshop filters on video and smart objects, and if you're doing it through smart filters, that will be documented in your verification report on the video. We can also record ClearID filters as Photoshop actions, so creating your own actions to do batch processing and expedite processing. You can now leverage ClearID filters through the filter menu as part of that process and save yourself a tremendous amount of time. We added the F11 to the version 3 release, which allows you to bring up the previous function that you used and the previous settings for that function. So if you're only working on 2 or 3 that need the same settings, for instance, on brightness contrast or something, you can quickly and easily get right back to those settings with the F11 on your next image. So lots of things going on there. We actually have a few things in the works for ClearID as well, of course, so please keep an eye on what we're doing there. This one, we have so much to talk about. I don't know how we could do it in an hour just talking about dTective and Avid Media Composer alone. dTective 7.5 update, 7.5.3, was released in June of 2018. It is free to those with current support contracts. Of course, it includes the 5 core dTective filters: Spotlight, Magnify, Developer, Deplex, and Rhythmatic. It also includes 15 ClearID effects. So every single ClearID effect that applies to video is going to be in or is in Avid Media Composer with dTective now. Spotlight was recently updated to include more range on the magnitude setting for dealing with really high resolution sources. So we've got another Spotlight update that is coming as well. In fact, I just tested the alpha version this morning right before the webinar, and it is going to be really slick, and that is multiple spotlights with one effect. So we apply one effect in Avid Media Composer, and we can have multiple spotlights within that effect, cutting through whatever background, whether we're highlighting or obscuring people, objects, or things. We are improving efficiency such that you're going to be able to do that on multiple objects with simply one effect. So keep an eye out for a release on dTective very, very soon with the updated Spotlight and a few other tweaks as well as we continue to make that solution more efficient and more capable. Those familiar know that our dTective solutions, all of these filters, so the dTective and Clear ID effects run inside Avid Media Composer. And Avid Media Composer, if you have not been paying attention, has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. Really, since version 8, they have hit a breakneck pace of updates and new features for the Avid Media Composer nonlinear editor that is just very, very impressive for me to even comprehend. They changed the versioning information at the beginning of the year, so those not familiar, the versioning information now begins with the year dot the month of that particular release. So at present, the current shipping version, 2018-7, 2018-9, if not this week, but is going to be released very, very soon. Certainly hope you're aware of our exclusive upgrade. From any version of Media Composer that you may have purchased or own, you can upgrade for just $295 to the latest and greatest. And when we talk about nonlinear editing, certainly Media Composer is still the industry's leading nonlinear editor, designed for the ground up for precision and accuracy, designed from the ground up to make you make some workflow decisions along the way. They have continued to improve efficiencies, not only for professional editors, but within the last few years, they're starting to go after those consumers and prosumers as well. So a lot of the efficiencies that we see in things like Premiere Pro and Final Cut are now in Media Composer. Getting assets in, reviewing assets, and getting them into Media Composer via the linking capability. So from an investigative processing standpoint, I can take video from digital CCTV systems that might be in an MP4, bring that, link it right in the Media Composer just to preview it. I don't have to import or wait for any of that. Bring it in, drop it into a sequence, throw developer on it to see how frame averaging is going to work. Throw a color safe or a channel selector on it from Clear ID to see all the different channels in the different color spaces and where my evidence is and where my noise is and so on and so forth. So really from an investigative process, the interface has changed so dramatically in the last few years, and capability, I mean, not the interface. But the interface has been updated as well with lots of improvements. So covert surveillance, all of those types of applications, but really one of Avid's big strengths is that media management and searching. They have done a ton to expand upon the search capabilities within the Avid interface. Some of the key new features for forensic users, we have new 16K project presets. You read that right, 16K project presets, and not only that, we now have within Media Composer high frame rate support for projects of 100 frames per second, 11988 and 120 frames per second. So if you're wondering why on earth would I want high frame rate support like that, most of the newer standards such as UHD and of course 4K, DCI, 8K, so on and so forth, all support very high frame rates. So not only are we talking about raster sizes, image sizes, video sizes that are 4 times 8K, with 60K, we end up with, higher frame rates. So it's a lot of data. This is where the hardware reliance and making sure that all of the links in the chain are checked. There's a new timeline clip notes feature with thumbnails, which is completely separate from the markers feature that Avid has always had. You may remember it as locators, but they've updated the markers window, so now it's much more customizable. You can change columns around much easier, lay out your print view of your markers with thumbnails. So, a simple process that we've been teaching for many years, bring your media in, you add markers real quick, and literally if you're linking, I don't have to import anything. It's simply create a project, open my media, make some notes, and then export a PDF with a thumbnail, frame number, and my notes pertaining to that particular frame. Bing, bang, boom, we're investigating and getting actionable information out on the street. So better control over the source and record monitor resizing. You used to have to be kind of locked down. You scaled one or the other. Now you have much more control over that. improved QuickTime linking. Like I said, this migration on digital CCTV systems, many these days are outputting MP4 files. We're still seeing the antiquated, deprecated AVI stuff, of course, and we can work with that as well. But now, if you've got that MP4 that you're able to frame hash and validate is frame accurate to the source of the original proprietary, you've got a file that can be brought right into Avid Media Composer and worked on without importing. So it's a super fast and efficient process. Some prior release features, if you haven't been keeping an eye, obviously Avid has their own application manager, so software updates and things of that nature are a no-brainer. Many efficiency improvements within the interface, so many that I couldn't even begin to scratch the surface. But as far as searching, adding notes, and just usability improvements, creating new tracks by simply dragging clips, things of that nature. It's really impressive, and I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't in a while. Favorites bin, a big time saver as well, so you can make any bin a favorites bin, and those bins will be available across any project. Pretty slick if you've got 30i favorites bin for titles with your agency stuff, another bin with titles for 1080 stuff, so on and so forth. Makes things quick and easy to get access to and share in a multi-editor environment. Image and media cache settings back in the last year's updates in 8.2 and 8.5, just like with Photoshop, now we can go in and tell Avid Media Composer how much of my system memory I want to use, so on and so forth. From day one, Avid has been very specific about your graphics, supported graphics cards and graphics drivers, rightfully so. However, you have complete control now over your system memory as well. So just like in Photoshop with scratch disk and system memory allocation, all capable and available to you now. Custom projects was introduced in 8.4, so you can now go in and create your own custom canvas sizes and frame rates. The new source browser window for bringing media in and previewing media quickly. Really impressive, some of the improvements that they've done, and they seem to be cooking at about one major update a month these days at Avid, which is absolutely baffling to me. So software, that's high-level software. Let's talk a little bit about what's new in training. Training updates, of course, we provide both classroom training and live one-on-one training remotely. We do classroom training at our training lab at our office back in Burtonsville, Maryland. Just finished up a class last week there, the new 5-day FEA Intro to Forensic Video Analysis. And we are introducing in 2019 a new 3-day class called Fundamentals of Video Evidence Recovery and Processing. This new 3-day class is essentially going to provide day one of fundamentals of video evidence, best practices on video evidence recovery, and then hands-on exercises for the initial investigative processing of that evidence, leveraging not only our tools, but various FOSS tools as well, freeware and open source software tools, so things like VirtualDub, FFmpeg, Forvid, and other players and more. So be on the lookout for some training dates on that new 3-day fundamental course coming in 2019. And of course, we're still providing the DVR assessment and video recovery course, which is now a 2-day class, and it has been a very popular class when it was brought to you. So that is the model that we're going to essentially be continuing, is providing that class on site at your agency for up to 18 people. And certainly reach out to us if you're interested in that. We can put you into touch with other agencies that we've done this for around the country that have nothing but good things to say. At least that way we can get right to your location, provide the training that's needed. And of course, custom on-site training as well is available. Live remote one-on-one training was the most recent thing that we've added to our training stuff, and that was about a year, maybe 2 years ago. We added a 4-hour introduction to Clear ID training course, and that's live one-on-one remote training with myself or another certified instructor, certified digital multimedia analyst, providing you live feedback and training. So that ClearID class has been available for a while and has been quite popular for those brand new to ClearID. We're also introducing another one for Introduction to Omnivore and Field Kit, live one-on-one training for 4 hours on those solutions. And coming soon in 2019, we're going to be adding the same sort of thing on some of your favorite FOSS programs, such as Virtual Dub, FFmpeg, Forbid, and others. Want to talk about specific tools that I haven't mentioned here? Ask us. We'd be more than happy to discuss that with you. In fact, we also provide workflow consulting. Regardless of which products you use, we can help. We've done it from soup to nuts in a number of lab environments, and we continue to be leaned on by some of the largest digital evidence labs in the country. End-to-end DME lab, network and storage design, archiving solutions, workflow review and recommendations, either from an investigative processing standpoint or for forensic processing standpoint. Tool selection and training, essentially, what problems are you having? What questions do you have? We'll do our best to answer them, and if we can't answer them, we'll be sure to put you in touch with someone that can. So, Charles.
Well, that was a mouthful, huh? You did an awesome job, as you always do. Much appreciated. Let me give your voice a rest for a second. The couple things I just wanted to highlight and expand on a little bit with the Omnivore update. We actually have a kind of a pre-release feature set, some of the things that you can expect in the next release. So get in support and get your free updates for that. As Larry mentioned, it's a 64-bit code. That means it can access more RAM, which is an important part of the screen capturing process. Windows 10 has been an interesting challenge as they continue to secure it to make it a safer platform. As Larry mentioned, it presents some challenges, but we are writing around them. So no more theme changings to avoid black screen captures. Should be seen in the future release. The stereo mix, what you hear, Larry had mentioned. Pause and start recording again, which again, a customer feature requests are our bread and butter. I have a few people that I'll talk to, reach out to every once in a while and ask what we can do better, and there is never any inconveniencing, bothering us, letting us know what your challenges are, what features. It could be the smallest of things, and it's important to you, so we're adding those things. Somebody pointed out in ClearID when they did a crop, we had the original size, we had the crop size, but we didn't have the actual XY coordinate of where the crop was going to happen, and could you please add that in? Absolutely. We've actually expanded our programming team, so hopefully you'll be seeing more things turned around quicker. Please let us know what your challenges are. When we hear them, we can pull in resources if we need to, Avid resources. Had somebody recently that was trying to align time codes on multiple sources of video with different frame rates, and the frame rate was variable. So yeah, it can get a little challenging how you do something like that. Got on the phone, did conference call with some Avid experts, and they're already slating, hey, that'd be a great feature to add into Avid. Another thing that I wanted to point out with the Avid, I'm hearing a feedback loop, is they have a tool called Phrase Find. So that's an interesting thing. One of the nice things Avid did a good job of migrating toward, and we're actually looking to migrate toward better efficiencies here as well, is they have a player, an applications manager. So if you have updated an older version of Avid to a newer version and got involved with their application manager, much like Adobe's. You open it up, you see what's available to you, you click a button, it downloads it. In there, you'll find Phrase Find, and what it lets you do is type in words, and it will scan the media that you've ingested into Avid and match it phonetically and rank it by percentage. So I might say, hey, I want to look for Larry Compton, and sure, it'll scan through multiple projects, and it'll rank all the video 90, 80% that it thinks the words Larry Compton were spoken, and set it just a few seconds beforehand. You double click it, opens up in your source window, and you're watching the video and matching up. So a nice investigative tool. Larry also touched on developer. There's a lot of frame averagers out there. We actually have frame averaging in ClearID. We have frame averaging in Avid. And the one nice thing that gets overlooked by even users of that type of tool is that it's a real-time frame averager. So I could drop in one of these MPEG-4 files that Larry spoke about, link directly to it. I'm looking at it, drop developer on it. I'm watching the video, car comes around the corner, lasso it, poof, it's already frame averaged. Those are nice investigative features that are available in Avid and with the dTective. The spotlight, multiple spotlights cutting through to the top layer. Had a customer call up that said, well, I'm actually blurring the whole thing and I want to cut through holes all the way through multiple times. So feature requests are gold, because that's how we did all this stuff to begin with, is somebody coming to us and saying, hey, could you do this for us? This is what's slowing us up. What else did I miss on, Larry? Anything sticking out to you?
No, I think you got touched on everything. Some of the customer appreciation promotions, and this is current customer appreciation promotions, because as Charles mentioned to me earlier, everyone's always got sales and promotions, but what about the current customers? Think of like my cell phone company. They never give me a break. I've been a customer for 9 years, right? So here's some customer appreciation promotions for our current customers that Charles has put together for us, including an upgrade on your old Omnivore drives. You can upgrade the 2.0 to the latest 3.0 drives and get 6 months of support added at no cost when you do that. We also are providing a temporary $100 off the price of a brand new Omnivore drive to current customers, and that runs through September of this year. Upgrading to a new CPU, you've got a couple options. You can choose some extra storage, extra RAM, or extended support when you go to upgrade your CPUs through us. Upgrade any Avid, any version of Media Composer. We talked about $299. That's an incredible savings. If you think about, for instance, you haven't been updated since version 6 or version 5. Well, that's been several years. And if you had to pay support back to get to that version or buy all brand new, you're saving a lot of money there, of course. And oh, by the way, this little nugget, Avid, of course, continues throwing freebies in there like this one. So if you were an active Media Composer customer during April and early May, you got a free gift, whether you remember it or not, or saw it or not, but Isotope RX Elements for noise reduction and audio repair. I like to have as many of those types of tools in my toolbox that I can stay proficient on and validate. And so any noise reduction and audio repair is great. Obviously, our noise reduction and audio repair tool of choice is DAC Quick Enhance, which is a VST plugin that works within any audio application that leverages VST plugins, whether it be Audition, Audacity, so on and so forth. Also available as an AAX plugin. And oh, by the way, Digital Audio Corporation also provides Cardinal as an entirely software solution now. So if you've been doing audio clarification for a few decades, you probably remember back when everything was hardware-based. Not so much anymore. So that Cardinal solution is something that we can source for you too. So do keep an eye out for that. Before we wrap up here, I think we've got to most of the questions I see coming in. I am going to just real quick run over the website, Charles. Is there any pending questions you want to grab before I do this, or?
I'm trying to glance through them real quick. We did get some questions regarding request for us having more extensive. I'm hearing a feedback loop again. Maybe it's your phone, Larry. But more extensive training with us with Avid and workflows through Avid. So if that is something people are wanting from us, please reach out to us and let us know, and we can arrange something for you. Let me just glance through here real quick to kind of highlight some of this stuff. Meg gave us some field kit props. I appreciate that. Metadata comparison feature somebody had asked about. I wasn't sure if you saw that or could expand on what we can take that offline. I wasn't quite sure what the question was. Did you see that one, Larry?
I did not, and I don't see it in my list. I do see one about demonstrating ClearID effects, not in this webinar. Certainly we have ClearID videos and things online, so I want to show you that. I saw a few questions about the Avid upgrade price. So for the $299, any version of Media Composer. So if you have 8.2 or 7 or 6 or what have you, that's $299 to get to the latest, greatest with all of the capabilities that I talked about and more. So several questions on that.
Is this different from standard Avid download? I'm not quite sure what that
No,
means.
it's not. No, it's straight through Avid, the full-blown Avid.
Right.
Now, Avid recently changed their versioning information, as I mentioned, but they also changed the name of their product. So they provide Avid Media Composer First, if you haven't heard of, which is the free version of Media Composer that's very limited in regards to the number of tracks you can have and leveraging any third-party filters or anything like that, export options, all very, very limited for a free version into the platform. But then Avid Standard, that is the typical Avid Media Composer standard installation. And now they've introduced a third, which is Media Composer Ultimate. And Ultimate provides both the standard version as well as phrase find and script sync, I believe. Isn't that correct, Charles? Script sync and phrase find are the two that are added to the Ultimate version. Yeah.
Another oldie but a goodie that's been in Avid for a while.
Exactly, for doing transcripts and aligning transcripts. So that's right. Media Composer Ultimate. But to answer the question, no, it is the same version. Avid is the host application, and we certainly want you to leverage their resources. You download through them, you have support through them, so on and so forth, even if you purchase it through us. So. That said, let me go ahead and try and wrap this up. We got just a few seconds, and I wanted to show some updates to the website that might be helpful. Obviously, first and foremost, I'm going to mention Twitter at Ocean Systems. All of our latest release information goes out via Twitter. We're certainly on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. I hope you'll like us on there. Comment, feedback, what have you. But our Ocean Systems website, we have our primary site as well as what we refer to as our store site, the forums and store site, both being secured, SSL secured. We're just finishing that process up on the primary site now, so you can see we're not quite done on the primary site. But here we are on the main Ocean Systems site under support, where we can get to what's new and see exactly what the latest releases are of the various applications, and of course downloads to download trial versions or the latest version. When you go to download our software through the site, you're simply going to be asked to fill out a quick form, who you are, so on and so forth. If you're a current customer, obviously that gives us the means to follow up with you and get you unlocked if it's not already automatically unlocked, etc. But you'll have access once you submit the download form for any of our software to that exe for download immediately. So it's not like we're reviewing it and saying you can't download our software until we moderate this request. As soon as you submit the form, you're taken to a page with download links and documentation and training videos and that sort of stuff for every product. So definitely check that out. The other thing to point out is our store site. At the very end of our main menu here, you can see the store option, and the store site is been around for a few years, but we have been doing a lot of work to improve capabilities and efficiencies on the store site. So certainly an entirely secure end-to-end shopping solution where you can purchase a lot of our products online via credit card or PO, but also detailed information on all of our products, of course, which we continue to expand, as well as some information on open source solutions. Our own blog and news, so we have blog posts up there predominantly from myself, but certainly lots of valuable information we'd like to try and share when we can. Forums, training, events, webinars, all available to you through this secure platform. And then once you're logged in, obviously available to you have even more resources available to you there. So that's a quick overview of the two sites. Is there anything I missed there that you wanted to say?
Somebody just, Meg was asking about videos that we have. So yeah, we have a YouTube channel. If you want to go directly to the channel and click the lists, then each product has videos by list. If you go to the Ocean Systems website that Larry's on right now, if you could scroll up for a second. Oh,
right here.
You were on now. Yeah, you can go YouTube. Yeah, sure.
Yep. So each of them, so this one has it at the top, Ocean Systems YouTube. The old site has it on the sidebar. It's going to take you right to our YouTube channel, and where you can get our latest videos and what we're doing, publishing training videos, and this webinar will be recorded and eventually uploaded to there as well.
And then each product page on the oceansystems.com, you go to the product page, there's an overview, there's a news tab, there's a video tab. So you can get to the videos in a number of different ways.
So, all right, I think time-wise, we are right on the money, my friend. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Like I said, this was recorded. We'll have this up on the YouTube and send out that information. We really appreciate your time and look forward to speaking with you again, hopefully soon. Look for us at Federal Law Enforcement and Training Center next week for digital their conference going on down at Federal Law Enforcement and Training Center in Georgia. We'll also be at IECP in October, as well as, of course, LEVA's conference coming up in November. So we look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you all have a great day.